Do you have a preteen boy who might be a reluctant reader and you're trying to find some books to just get him excited about reading? Today I'm going to be sharing with you 9 different book series that my 3 boys have absolutely loved that have gotten them really excited about reading. Hi guys, if you're new here, my name is Erin. I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids and my 3 oldest are boys. They are currently 10, almost 12 and 14. And so we've been in that preteen mode for quite a few years. In today's day and age, it can be really hard to find books that you can trust to give your kids to read. And so all of the books that I'm going to be sharing today are good, clean, wholesome reads. When you have a reluctant reader, I find it personally very helpful to find a series that they are actually going to be interested in, because once they read one, it is so easy to then move on to the next and the next and the next until they make it through the series. And then you have a built-in reading backlog that is going for you for quite some time. Now, before we jump in, I do feel like I need to have that disclaimer out here that just because I'm calling this a video about books for boys does not mean that girls would not enjoy these books as well. However, these are just typically books that are a little bit more action-paced, maybe themed around some battles and different things like that, that typically speaking, a lot of boys tend to gravitate towards. So that being out of the way, let's jump in. The first series that I'm going to talk about is called Benjamin Pratt and the Keepers of the School. This is one that we actually listened to on audiobook a few years ago, and we all really enjoyed this book series, myself included. This series is about a kid named Benjamin Pratt and a couple of his friends. They go to this school that is about to be demolished to be turned into an amusement park. But these kids end up stumbling upon the truth behind the scheme of what's going on to get rid of their school. And in that, they end up finding all of these clues within the school that will lead them to something that is going to help save the school from being demolished, that goes all the way back to the founding fathers. It is a really fast-paced action adventure kind of story that will leave your kids waiting to see what is going to happen next. The Benjamin Pratt series is geared towards kids ages 7 to 11 or so, but even older kids I think would enjoy it as well. The next series is the I Survive series by Lauren Tarshis. I think that's how you say it. This is a series that is great for kids that are into actual historical events. It is based on these dramatic disasters or events that caused great turmoil at different points in history, but it's told through the perspective of a kid who experienced that event and survived what was happening, like the bombing of Pearl Harbor. There's the San Francisco earthquake, the Great Chicago Fire, the Hindenburg disaster. There's a whole bunch of these books. This is a great series of books that is geared toward kids around ages 8 to 10 or so. They are pretty quick, easy reads that are just action-packed. The next series is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This is a classic. I'm sure many of you have heard about them or read them. If you haven't yet, this is a great series for all kids, but boys definitely, because it's full of battle scenes and different things like that. If you're not familiar with Narnia, it's about a group of 4 kids who find this magical wardrobe that transport them to the land of Narnia. The stories of Narnia are full of symbolism to spiritual life, with Aslan, who is represented as a lion in the story. He sacrifices his life in order to save Edmund, who had betrayed his siblings. And the whole series kind of follows the story of these kids and their roles within Narnia, becoming kings and queens and leading the people to kind of fight against the enemy. This is a series that is great to do for kids to read on their own or to do as a family read aloud. The Chronicles of Narnia is written for kids about ages 7 to 12 or so, but any age will enjoy these stories. The next series is by Jean Craighead George, and it starts with My Side of the Mountain, and then the second book is called The Far Side of the Mountain, and then there's Frightful's Mountain. So there's 3 in this series. This is about a boy named Sam who leaves home to go live in the mountains on his own. He makes his home out of a hollowed out tree, and it kind of follows him learning how to make a stove and collect food off of the land. And he finds this falcon champion who he trains and names Frightful. In the second book, his sister comes to stay with them for a while, and then the third book is told from the perspective of Frightful. This is a great book if you have boys who especially, or any kid really, who loves the outdoors, the idea of survival skills, living off the land, all of those kind of things. This is a fantastic one. We actually read this one while we were doing a foraging unit several years ago. It was fun to tie in with that kind of thing, where then we went and looked for edible plants on the land in the area where we lived as well. So anyway, this is a really fun series. The My Side of the Mountain series is written for kids ages about 8 to 11. The next series is a classic. These have been around for decades. This is the Hardy Boys. There are dozens and dozens of these books. I remember these on the shelves in the library when I was a kid. These books follow two brothers who are in their teenage years. Their father is a detective and they have really great skills of deduction and reasoning. In the books, they are working on solving these crimes that have been committed and reading the clues and piecing all the things together to figure out who committed the crime. So these ones are really fun if you have a kid that likes to put on that detective hat and try to figure out who done it. These are a great, really fun read. The Hardy Boys is a book series written for kids about ages 8 to 10. However, because it is older, the language is a little bit more robust than a lot of kids and modern books read, so this might even be applicable to kids a little bit older than that. The next series is The Wing-Feather Saga by Andrew Peterson. This one is another really fun action-adventure fantasy type book. Go on, Luke. Go on. This is about 3 kids who are trying to survive the pursuit of the evil fangs of Dang, who are these creatures with venomous fangs. It's full of other mythical creatures like toothy cows and different things like that in the story. And these kids are trying to save the jewels of Anira, and they go on multiple adventures. This family holds the secret to the lost legend and the jewels of the King of Anira, and it is a great, really fun read. My kids have really enjoyed this one on audiobook as well as reading the actual book. The Wing-Feather Saga is written for kids ages about 8 to 12. The next series is The Mysterious Benedict Society. There's 4 books in this series. They are a little bit larger. These are written for kids on the about 9 to 12 years old reading level. We did these as a read aloud when our kids were a little bit younger, and they really enjoyed these books. I had a fun time reading with them as well. The Mysterious Benedict Society is a book about these 4 kids who have these really gifted skills in different areas, and they kind of come together to form this team underneath Mr. Benedict. They are out to thwart the plans of the evil, mysterious Ladrop the Curtain, who is trying to take over the world, basically. These are very fun, action-packed, fast-paced books that are really fun to read. And my battery just died. Anyway, the next series is The Great Battle for Boys books. These books are great because they have lots of pictures from the actual events and battles, a lot of the faces for the names of people that you're reading about. Some of them have maps in them. Each chapter is about a different battle during the particular war. It goes through what the actual operation was that the soldiers were doing, kind of what happened, and then talks about different soldiers who fought. And then it also, at the end of each chapter, gives you a list of resources for more books to read, links on the internet, movies that you can watch about these particular battles. My son has absolutely loved these books. And The Great Battles for Boys books is written for kids ages about 9 to 12 or so. And the next series is The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings books. Now, these ones are definitely a little bit harder skill-wise to read. They're generally written for kids or people ages 12 and up. However, I would say you know your kids' reading ability best, as well as content-wise. These are definitely a lot more intense than all of the other books that we have talked about today. But my son, my youngest son, read through this entire series in about a month. last year at age 9. So just because it says 12 plus doesn't mean that younger kids can't read it, as long as you feel like the content is appropriate. There's definitely no bad language or anything like that, and they're just more intense battle scenes that take place. I'm sure you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings series. It takes place in this fantasy land with hobbits and ring wraiths, and and elves and trolls and all of these creatures. It's a fantastic series that is definitely gonna keep your kids turning pages to find out what happens next. If you have any book suggestions for me, will you please drop them in the comments below? Let me know what are some other books that your kids have really enjoyed, especially if you've got a great series of books to read. I hope that you found something in here today to give a try for your kids. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button below, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.